Hey, I know today is the Q&A session, but we have Brother Gary Barak, a guest speaker today, inshallah. We'll be talking to you for about 10 minutes on his story, how he became Muslim, and the challenge he faced, and how he is trying to adjust as a new Muslim. So please welcome Brother Gary. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I'm not really prepared because he kind of surprised me. I was coming here to pick up a book, and then he said, by the way, and I didn't realize there were so many of you, so it's a little crazy. I can talk in front of adults, but when I get in front of children, I get a little nervous. You guys scare me. Ooh, yeah. So to be quick, because I accepted Islam when I was about 35 years old. So that was in 2007. So I don't look that old, so people kind of get surprised by that. I have a son who is 17. I have a daughter who is 14. I have another daughter who is 13 and a son who is 6. And the 6-year-old is Yusuf. He was born after I accepted Islam. So he's the first in our family to be born Muslim. So I come from a Christian background. Catholic is, I don't know if you guys know much about that, and you should focus on Islam anyway, but if you get older you might take some religious studies and learn about other faiths. And that is the biggest religion here in Canada. Or the biggest religious group, and I come from that background. I had a bit of a difficult life, because I can see... So, for some of you guys, the older brothers here, I understand some of you are about 14, in that range. So, for me, when I was your age, I moved out of the house. So, I had to grow up very fast. So when all of my friends were in school, learning, I was out working. I had to live on the street for a while, sleeping in parks and things like that. You know what it's like in Canada, it's very cold. Even in the summertime, you'd be surprised, sleeping out in a park, it's very, very cold. So these were just things that happened to me. And a lot of other things, I got into a lot of trouble, because the beauty of Canada is that it's very open, it's very free, we can practice our religion, but it's also very easy to get into trouble. Right? If we don't pay attention to what we're doing. And so for me, I got into a lot of trouble, and I did a lot of bad things. I got in trouble with the police, and I got in trouble with my parents and my family. But then eventually, when I got a little bit older, I realized something was missing. I didn't have, even though I had a belief in God, I wasn't really connected with Allah. Right? So one day I prayed, and I said, if you're up there, please guide me. And I started to learn about Islam. And I had a couple of friends that I worked with who were Muslim. And as I started to learn about religion, going back to Christianity and the things that I knew, I started to look out at other things. I didn't know anything about Islam. I thought it was just about camels and curved swords and desert, and because I didn't know. So I started to ask questions, and alhamdulillah, they were there and they taught me a lot of stuff. And after a couple of years, I decided, you know what? This makes sense to me. This is what I need. Because I got into so much trouble, I realized at that point, as an adult, 35 years old, I realized how important the rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had set. And if I had been following these rules much sooner, Allah knows I may not have gotten into so much trouble. And that was really the main reason why I accepted Islam, was because I needed those rules and those guidelines. Right? We come and we pray 5 times a day. There's a routine that we develop. There's habits that we develop that are really good for us. And I didn't have that. Being 14, moving out, I had to figure things out on my own. So I didn't even finish high school until I was 38 years old. I had to go back to school. So the decisions that we make, for the younger guys, you won't understand so much now, but for some of the older guys, 14, 15, and the sisters, you realize that you guys are getting into that stage where you're adults, you're young adults. Yeah. From our deen, you are adults. When you start to get to 14, 15-year-old, you have to start making decisions. the things that you do, that your parents are going to let you do, make more choices. You're going to be going to college in a few years, and university. And as I said, in Canada, there's so much that we can do, but at the same time, we have to be very, very careful about the decisions we make. So, alhamdulillah, I accepted Islam at 35, and I came home about a year later, and I had just finally learned Salah. So when you guys say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, you know, that took me a long time to learn that. We're talking a couple of years to say it, right? I've been working on my recitation and so on. So after a year, I came home, and my wife had said to me that she wasn't the man that she had married. She was kind of upset. Things were changing. I accepted Islam for me. She was still doing what she was doing as a non-Muslim. But then she said to me, she says, because of Islam, I see you becoming the man I've always wanted you to be. And she said to me, I want to accept Islam. So this is how my family, my wife and I, became Muslim. So I accepted Islam, and she saw the changes and the good choices I had made. Prior to that, I had made a lot of bad choices, as I said. So it was because of Islam that I started making good choices in my life. I started listening to Allah, I started following the Prophet, the Sunnah, the things that he did, the things that he said, and it really changed things for me. And alhamdulillah, 9-10 years later, I've been very active in the community. I try to do these types of things. Usually with a little more notice, it helps, inshallah. But I think it's very important, and you guys will learn this as you get a bit older. Right? One of the things I had difficulty with was my parents. I wasn't always very respectful with my parents, and that was part of the reason why I had to move out when I was 14. Right? And this is something that's very important for us. You may not understand now, but you will in the future. My parents are getting older now, and our Canadian culture is not as caring towards our parents as we should be. So you guys need to learn this as well. It's really important. So if your parents say no, they don't want you to do things, you know, there's usually a reason for it, right? You have to trust them. Just like we trust in Allah. We don't always know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to do, but we have to trust in Him, and we have to, you know, realize that there's a reason why He's telling us. We may not know now, we may never know, but eventually we may get to know, okay, well, Allah had told me this then, because now I need it today. Does that make sense, guys? So, you know, it's the same thing with your parents. You have to trust your parents, the decisions they make, the things that they say. And if you can benefit from any of the things that, you know, I've done a lot of things, and not you know, just things, bad choices that I made. So inshallah, may Allah protect you guys, help you make good choices, have good, you know, have a good path in your future, and don't be afraid to practice your Islam. I know there's a lot of things, especially with the older brothers and sisters, you realize there's a lot of stuff going on. Just try to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's going to be hard. Don't let the things in the world shake you. You always have to come back and think about Allah, and it will get better. It takes time, and this is one of the beauties of Canada. You know, some bad things happen here, but we do have one of the best countries in the world where we can practice our Islam. So, okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Gary. He is visiting from Waterloo, so he has a long way to go. So let him go, inshallah, and we'll invite him back.
Inshallah.
In a couple of months, I'll be here.
Inshallah. Jazakallah. See you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.